in Stella Chesang, 14th over the 10,000 at the World Champs, but that was good enough for a national record. Hannah Irwin of Northern Ireland, she got a PB on the night of the 10,000s at Parliament Hill. And now to the first of the two Kenyans, African champion over 5,000 metres a few years ago, Sheila Kiprotich. Dominique Scott is another who's been working hard over 10,000 metres. She was 17th in the World Champs in Eugene. Celine Iranzi, PB when she finished 10th in the African Champs in Mauritius. And now to Irene Cheptai, the former World Cross Country champion, 6th last year in Tokyo. Rachel Chebet, 2nd in the African Championships. Could she spring a surprise for Uganda? And on the inside, Isabel Bat-Doyle came up through the Little League Athletics program, an excellent cross-country runner, 7th and 6th in the last two editions of the World Student Games Championship. So, the defending champion, Stella Chesang, up against one of the fastest half-marathon runners in history and a former World Cross Country champion. The two Kenyans determined to take it to the Ugandan. The East African distance running rivalry about to resume in Birmingham. The final of the women's 10,000 metres is underway. Lovely conditions here. It has got a little cooler. Jess Judd with Eilish McColgan on her shoulder. And Tim, I wonder whether this is the kind of night, if McColgan is feeling bold enough, where she may look to repeat the performance that she had at Hengelo. Some would argue that one of the reasons she beat Letesenbet Gide, who ended up winning the world title, was because the Ethiopians were more concerned about one another, because Hengelo was their battle to earn selection for the world champs. But McColgan ran masterfully in Holland and was rewarded with the second fastest time by a British woman, I know she's representing Scotland, that we've ever seen. Do you think she would be best served to take this on? Because at the moment they're absolutely dawdling.
Well, they did jog the first 200 or 300 metres, yes. And I don't know, I think it's early to go, too soon to go out in front and push hard right from the gun. Very, very rarely has that been seen in the history of 10,000 metre running. What we do see more often than not is what we saw last night, which is a reasonable first half. I think it was 13:45 the first half in the men's race, and then a much quicker second half in the men's 10,000 metres. And Kiplimo storming to gold for Uganda. I think this one will be very similar. I suspect one or two others will come through and take a turn over these first 12 and a half, maybe 15 laps. But for the full 25 laps, no, it would be very, very tough to go out and lead the whole way. Eilish has raced an amazing amount this last couple of years. She's been able to avoid injuries. That's been a real key to it. She's just been able to maintain her training from month to month, from season to season, and build up that fitness. And that's critical for any athlete. And she did look fantastic. You're dead right. In Hengelo a couple of months back, the Ethiopian contingent behind her were watching each other, just fighting for domestic glory and for places in the World Championship team. But while Eilish is very capable of going for home from a long way out, I don't think we'll see it until the second half.
The much smaller figure of Iranzi of Rwanda taking her turn at the front in these very modest first few laps. McColgan sometimes ends up having her heels clipped when she runs in a big pack, because she has quite a big high leg lift at the back. The athletes running in a tight group have to give her a little bit more space. At the moment she's got Jess Judd of England behind her, who's more than familiar. So you can see there that Judd has left a little bit of a gap just to take account of McColgan's heels flicking up towards her. But this is very, very steady in the early stages. Good weather this though, Tim, for distance running. It's nice and cool.
It is, Rob. I'd still like to know just how much wind there is around the track, if there are any exposed areas, because the flags at the far end of the stadium where the water jump is, between the 200-metre point and 300-metre points on each lap from the start line, the flag's up on the
7th fastest half-marathon runner in history with a scorching 64-minute performance in Ras Al Khaimah. And just as I say that, the half-marathon specialist now comes to the front. And this is a change in the tactics here. Kiprotich from Cheptai, and now McColgan is the one having to hang on, with Chesang, the defending champion, in 4th, Jess Judd 5th, and now Dominique Scott beginning to fall off the back of the pace.
Well, Eilish will have known this was coming. She hasn't changed her tempo. Another 3:04 there, that 6 kilometre, Rob. 18:42. She's well advised by her mother, who, of course, was a New York Marathon champion, a London Marathon champion, a great champion at Commonwealth and world level over 10,000 metres. I well remember Liz McColgan winning the world title in 1991 in the sweltering heat of Tokyo. So loads of experience behind her. Her partner, Mike Rimmer, was a world-class 800-metre runner. He has been a great partner for her over this last couple of years in particular, where she's been able to avoid those injuries and just put together race after race, so enormous consistency. So I think Eilish will have anticipated this. She's not panicked, she's just tucked in behind them, and to be fair, I don't think they've injected a great deal of pace, although those gaps are developing. And now, actually, in a way, Eilish can relax and just tuck in behind these two, and for once she's getting a little bit of help. She's been the pacemaker unofficially for most of the race.
And if you look behind, there's ever such a slight gap opening up between Eilish McColgan in third. It's Cheptai leading now, with Kiprotich in second place on the curve, and the defending champion Chesang looks like she's working quite hard here, and all of a sudden 5 or 6 metres has opened up between McColgan and the woman who stormed to the title on the Gold Coast. She's a former world mountain running champion as well, but she's now down in fourth, with Jess Judd flying high off that personal best in sweltering conditions in Eugene in fifth. And that gap, Tim, is beginning to grow. So are we seeing 2 Kenyans and a Scot in what is quickly becoming a 3-way battle for the title? The defending champion's in a little bit of trouble here.
Well, she is, and in a way this is great for Eilish McColgan, because she's worked so hard to tire the field out through the first 6 kilometres, and she's getting her just desserts. In other words, she's separated the 3 of them away from the pack, and it pretty much lays down the story of the rest of the race. We have 3 athletes battling out 3 medals. She's guaranteeing herself a medal, perhaps, with the hard work done so far. I don't think Eilish will fold over these last 3 kilometres or so. It's a case of whether or not she can live with these 2 Kenyans now, and then maybe use that renowned finishing speed of hers.
Well, if you look at the personal bests, that lap was 72 seconds, and that is why the defending champion and Jess Judd in fourth and fifth have been blown out the back. On PBs, when you look back to that wonderful time that McColgan set in Hengelo, 30:19, a lifetime bests quicker than both the Kenyans. Now, this is different. It's a race scenario, but she hasn't allowed any gap at all to grow. There is Stella Chesang just on the right of picture there, so that gap looks like it's fast becoming unbridgeable. There's going to be a new champion, but what a story it would be if Eilish McColgan could put the world cross-country champion from 17 and the 7th fastest half marathon runner in history under major pressure here. In PB terms, she can live with the 2 Kenyans. It's a question of who's got the acceleration and when will the final big push for the title come, as they head round now with 7 laps to go. This is developing into a cracking climax, Tim.
Well, Rob, they go through 7 laps to run, and I can tell you we've got 3 completely new medalists as well, because I was checking earlier, and Stella Chesang is the only finds
behind the trio battling for the medals. And as we get closer and closer to the last couple of laps, the noise in this stadium will increase. I think this would rank as the biggest moment of McColgan's career. Got a great European silver over the 5,000 metres, but she seems to have found her home over the 10. And I know we mentioned the Hengelo performance a couple of times. It really was utterly masterful. In great fashion, she stormed away from Letesenbet Gide, a double world cross-country champion, the Ethiopian, who went on to win the world title in Eugene. Those conditions were punishing and perhaps didn't suit McColgan, but it will tonight. The crowd are really responding. The 2 guys on PA, Jeff Whiteman and Chris Temple, doing a good job of informing the crowd what a big moment this would be for McColgan, for her entire family. But Tim, Cheptai and Kiprotich are still right there with her.
3.5 laps to go, and pace judgment now. How she spreads her effort out over these next just over 3 laps is absolutely critical. She does have loads of experience, Eilish McColgan. We mustn't forget, Rob, that she was European Championship silver medalist in Berlin back in 2018 over 5,000 metres. She does have fabulous 5,000 speed. Her 3,000 best, 8:31, gives her enormous confidence, I guess. 14:28 she's run for 5,000. That was Oslo last year. She holds the national records for the UK at 5,000 and half marathon. And as they come through with 3 laps to run, Eilish here will want to just test them a little bit, but constantly be reminding herself to save something for that last lap, those last 300 metres.
The officials doing a good job. They were just waving a placard in front of Rachel Chebet, telling her she had 4 laps to go. Of course, it is 3. They're moving past so many athletes, and Chebet is saying to Kiprotich, go on, go past me, it's fine. Kiprotich has got a problem here. She's limping. We're talking about the athlete just on the left of picture. I wonder whether she might have to drop out, which would give Jess Judd perhaps an opportunity to get in the mix for a bronze. So all of a sudden, we only have 2 left together. It's Cheptai with McColgan just behind her. Kiprotich is carrying on, but she has been dropped and she's limping heavily.
Well, how ironic that Cheptai has hit the front and tries to kick away here as her teammate Kiprotich is in trouble. And McColgan now approaching 2 laps to go, right on the heels of Cheptai. What has each of them got in the tank? Cheptai, for my money, Rob, looks as though she's under more stress for the last few laps.
And she just got a little push in the back there from McColgan, who perhaps feels as though Cheptai isn't moving quickly enough to be hogging the inside line. Well, she could come wide on the outside. What a story here unfolding before our very eyes. It's turning into a brilliant battle over these last few laps. It would be an incredible moment for McColgan if she could somehow replicate what her mum did in 86 and 90, and she's coming up onto Cheptai's shoulder. The world cross-country champion from 2017 is under real pressure here by the Scot, who is going to receive an almighty roar from the crowd when she comes round to hear the bell.
Very tough moment for Eilish McColgan, this. How do you decide when to go? Because I think she looks far the better of the 2. Does she go hard here from 500 metres out? They're coming towards the bell. McColgan here looks to have the speed, but Cheptai stubbornly holding that inside line and raising her game. It's a wonderful battle between the heavyweights as they reach 1 lap to go.
Listen to the noise from the crowd here as they take the bell in the final of the women's 10,000 metres. Irene Cheptai, the world cross-country champion from 5 years ago, desperately trying to pull away from Eilish McColgan, who's putting in one of the bravest performances of her career, desperate to follow in the mighty footsteps of her mum, who's won this title not once but twice, and she still hasn't been broken. What a battle here. Cheptai is giving this absolutely everything, and somehow McColgan staying with her. Less than 200 to go, and we still don't know who's taking the gold. McColgan's had a silver in the Europeans, but this would be incredible. Cheptai accelerates again. Pain etched on both their faces. Side by side, shoulder to shoulder. Who wants it the most? Listen to the crowd. This is absolutely incredible. History is being rewritten here in Birmingham in spectacular fashion. Eilish McColgan is the Commonwealth champion, just like her mum was back in 1986. She's beaten a former world cross-country champion to do it. This is the performance of her lifetime. All that work, all those miles for all those years, and she has become the champion. That was spectacular. Kiprotich takes the bronze, but it's McColgan who takes the headlines here. That was incredible.
Well, talk about a sense of deja vu. She had to battle for it down the home straight, didn't she, when her mother won 1991 world title in Tokyo. She just ran away from the field. She ground them into the track in the Olympic Stadium in the Japanese capital. That was a very different race, but the same result. McColgan crosses the line in first place. Absolutely brilliant. That was a performance full of guts and determination. Wears her heart on her sleeve to Eilish McColgan. It was there for all to see, Rob. The new games record through the last 300 metres. She fought for every single inch of that victory.
That is one of the bravest pieces of 10,000 metre running I have ever seen. Cheptai gave it everything around that last 200 metres, but this time McColgan was not to be burnt off by a fast finish. She ground them down by an excellent judge of pace for the first half of the race. Wherever you are in the world, I hope you really appreciate this great moment for distance running. The men's race was a cracker yesterday, and tonight was arguably even better, Tim. You just didn't know until the last 50 metres who was going to do it.
Well, and we mustn't forget, amidst all this, that Eilish McColgan has been announced for the London Marathon in a few weeks' time. October the 2nd, she's got to start focusing on a marathon pretty soon.
And there is the embrace between mother and daughter. Two proven champions. History does repeat itself. Liz cannot believe it, and I'm not sure Eilish can either. All credit to Irene Cheptai, the world cross-country champion from 2017, becoming the Commonwealth silver medalist. But at last, after so many disappointments and so much heartache, she is a champion just like her mum.
Spectacular scenes, and the stadium as one, rising to their feet over that final lap. And you could see Liz McColgan just now shaking her head, wiping away the tears. She couldn't believe it. I don't think her daughter could believe it either. Here we are, 300 metres to go, and I thought at this point maybe McColgan would have to give way to Cheptai, the little Kenyan, the arms rocking from side to side.
Yo mwana mwago baita Eilish McColgan asobola okubanga wangula omudali ogwa zaabu, ngono asobola okubanga wangula banna Kenya babiri okuli Sheila Chiprochit kwoteekane mwana muwala ngwaita ne mwana mugota Chemutai abadde bagenze maaso n'okubanga bamuteekako tabo ey'amaanyi n'asobola okubanga bawangula n'abanga ayambyeko bannaffe abo aba Scotland okubanga bafuna omudali gwabwe ogwa zaabu naddala mu mpaka zino eza Commonwealth nga zigenda maaso okubanga zitambula. Mwana muwala ono mu Scotland bw'oba ojjukiddemuko ne maama we yali muddusi nnyo era nakinku yasobola okubanga ateeka performance eyali nnungi ennyo. Naddala mu kudduka emisinde naye asobola okubanga awangulako emidaala egya zaabu mu mpaka nnyingi nnyo omwali ezo za Commonwealth zennyini kwoteeka n'empaka ezo za Olympics. So ne mwana mwago bayita McColgan n'asobola okubanga ayambako Scotland okubanga ewangula omudaali ogwa zaabu, ng'ono asobola okubanga avaako mabega okubanga ayisa munna Kenya abadde oboolyawo agenze maaso n'okubanga ateekawo performance ennungi.